Welcome everyone to the second session on the final day of Buddhist Global Relief's Meeting the New Year retreat. This afternoon we'll start with Reverend Jin Xuan and Reverend Jin Wei, who will offer a Dharma talk on compassion, followed by a meditation session and a period for questions. Venerables.
Okay, so welcome everyone. We're very happy to be here, coming back. And actually one of the things we reflected on was the theme of this retreat, which was clarity, compassion, and courage. And I know Bhikkhu Bodhi in the beginning said that these three were kind of a little bit random. Why did he start with 3 C's? As we were reflecting on it, we thought, well, these actually 3 C's in some way really encapsulate the Dharma in an accessible way for the West. And that taps into the kind of immediate things that inspire people here in kind of like say the West or English speaking culture. I think if you told anybody, well, I want to develop some clarity, everyone goes, oh, that's really good. Or compassion or courage. You know, there's no question about it. If somebody asked, what's Buddhism about? We thought, clarity, compassion, and courage wouldn't be a bad way to sum it up. So we're very happy to come here to kind of continue to explore the second of the 3 words that Bhikkhu Bodhi chose, compassion. And we thought, like we did, like last time, we wanted to start with an invocation. So let me share my screen. It's a little bit shorter. So we do it 1 time in Pali, 1 time in English. And the 3rd time in our tradition is the beginning of the Srangama mantra. And it's a Chinese pronunciation of Sanskrit words. So we have 4 languages on the screen. Invite everyone to join in if you wish, or you can just listen. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo sadanto sucedoye olahari samyam sambuddhoche. And next, because today we're going to explore the practices of Guan Shi Ying Bodhisattva or Guan Shi Ying Pusa. We wanted to actually share a chant of hers that was in English that was adapted from, I think, a hymn to the Virgin Mary. So this is, as I said, Buddhism coming to the West.
Cross the culture.
Cross culture, cross religions. And definitely the Virgin Mary and Guanyin Bodhisattva share that quality of compassion
and care.
Okay. You can join in if you wish. Each verse is exactly the same tune. So after you get the first kind of verse, you can join in. She who hears the voices of the world hears my voice. Namo Guanyin Bodhisattva. She who hears the cries of beings in prison hears my cries. Namo Guanyin Bodhisattva. She who calms the fears of soldiers in battle calms my fears. Namo Guanyin Bodhisattva. She who rescues beings from dangerous roads rescues me. Namo Guanyin Bodhisattva. She who hears the prayers of homeless people hears my prayers. Namo Guanyin Bodhisattva. She who grants the wish of childless couples grants my wish. Namo Guanyin Bodhisattva. She who soothes the terrors of the dying soothes my fears. Namo Guanin Bodhisattva. She who knows the joy of peace and friendship knows my joy. Namo Guanin Bodhisattva. She who hears when beings call her name hears my name. Namo Guanin Bodhisattva. She who hears the voices of the world hears my song. Namo Guanin Bodhisattva. Just to finish with the invocation, we thought it would be nice just to actually recite her name 7 times. Or just briefly. We have a kind of slightly different tune than normal. This is with the tune I usually hear with Om Mani Padme Hum. And the syllables is Namo, which is like Namaste, which is homage, or I pay my respect to. Guan is to listen to, contemplate, observe. Shi is world. Ying is sound. And Pusa is a shortened form of Bodhisattva. So it literally means I pay my respect to she who hears the sounds of the world, Bodhisattva. Okay, so we'll just do it for a little bit. Namo Guan Shi Yin Pusai. Namo Guan Shi Yin Pusa. 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 Okay, so again, good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, good morning, wherever you may be. We thought, like yesterday, we'd have a chance first to check in with how people are doing. So here's another opportunity to write in the chat box. I don't know if people know how to get to the chat box where you can type to everyone. I think it would be a lot nicer for everyone to see everyone else's responses. So if you can do that, if you look at the chat box, there's a 2 and you can choose, I think, everyone in the meeting. That way everyone can see your reflections. And our question is, if you were to describe your current state as a weather report, what would it be? So for instance, if I were to look at myself, I would say mostly clear, but a little breezy.
Maybe you see some rainbows or is sunny and clear sky.
So welcome. People can just put it in the chat box and just gives a sense of how people are doing. I don't know if people know how, is it possible for people to do, can we turn on the everyone option under the host? I think you can choose how many people where people can chat to. Oh, I see. I can do this too. There we go. I think now everyone can do everyone now. Everyone. So now you can find, now if you go to the bottom, say your 2 and then pick everyone. And that way people can see everyone. I see a lot happy.
Fresh, cozy winter.
Okay, somebody says, how to get to the chat box? The bottom of your screen, a little chat button. Oh, now we go.
Yeah.
Now we're getting somewhere here. Happy and comfy was one in the very beginning. And then here, fresh, cozy winter.
Happy.
Cloudy.
Sunny.
A spring day, calm and bright.
foggy somehow unsettles.
somewhat unsettled. So maybe needing a little clarity. Sunny, bubbling,
Clear and hazy.
clear but hazy, yeah. Warm, good early morning from Phnom Penh. Just a happy face.
Deep blue sky.
Foggy,
Calm with occasional clouds.
calm,
If I wonder here is cloudy and windy.
sunny and clear,
Mostly clear and crisp.
cozy and peaceful,
Sunny with chance of rain.
a little overcast,
Grateful tired.
sunny, crisp and clear,
Still a bit cloudy. Oh.
clear and bright in mist of ice and cold.
Peach tea again.
Wow, let me throw in the peach tea. Calm, compassionate heart,
Great, powerful sky.
foggy,
Blue sky with beautiful white cloud.
grateful, a bit overcast,
Clear with wind and clouds.
7 degrees, a few puffy clouds, calm but storms in the background.
Wow, hurricane.
Sunny, calm, breezes, cloud. So people can continue reading. We won't spend the whole time, but definitely it's nice to see that people have lots of different kinds of weather inside. And with compassion, the spirit is you just accept whatever the weather's like. We don't need to change the weather to fit our preferences, because often we can't change the weather, right? The weather is what it is. Sometimes it's outer weather, sometimes it's inner weather. So the compassionate response is to be able to accept what's there and then skillfully respond.
And maybe sometimes use umbrella if it's needed.
Yeah, some umbrella would be good. Okay, so today we were going to talk about compassion, and we thought of maybe two topics to address, or two questions to address. Ayya Dhammadipa mentioned yesterday about Guan Shi Bodhisattva. And so this is definitely our home team in our tradition. If we have troubles, Guan Shi Bodhisattva is the first Bodhisattva we go to. And we thought maybe we could share a little bit about her. So people, especially her practice of listening. And the second thing we thought about sharing is just how do we practice compassionate listening? So if we were to take this listening into our lives, what would that look like? Those are our two questions that we wanted to explore. And so I'll begin. Guanyin Bodhisattva, as I already explained, her name means she who hears the sounds of the world, or the cries of the world. And she's associated with great compassion. And the place I found the most extensive explanation of her kind of own process of cultivation is in the Srangama Suture. Bhikkhu Bodhi mentioned it yesterday as well. And this is, it would say, maybe one of the most important Chan or Zen. People are familiar with the word dhyana in Sanskrit or jhana in Pali. So when dhyana went to China, it became chana. And the Chinese always like to shorten things, it became chan. And then when chan went to Japan, it became zen. And that's what came over to the West. But this sutra, the Srangama Suture, has been one of these essential Chan meditation handbooks for practitioners over the centuries. And many great teachers have gave commentaries on it and explained this as really important. And in fact, there's a small section in this text that describes Guanyin Bodhisattva's process of listening inward that is kind of this key kind of instructions on how do you go inward? How do you go inward? And so we don't have time to kind of unpack all of it, but I thought it would be nice just to share with everyone. I'll just read the section so people have a little bit of the sense of the text, and then I'll just kind of explain the main principle so you kind of have a sense of what is being said here. So in one section of the text, Guanyin Bodhisattva actually stands up, asked by the Buddha to explain her own process of awakening. And she says that she was given a method by a previous Buddha, and that it consisted of the enlightened nature of hearing. And she says, I first directed my hearing inward in order to enter the current of the sages. Then she says, then external sounds disappeared. With the direction of my hearing reversed, and with sounds still, both sounds and silence cease to arise. So I think in this process, you'll find it's a deepening and deepening process of letting go of all the dualities in our mind, the constructions of our mind. So she let go of the inner and external dualities, and then the silence and sound duality. And she keeps going. So it was that as I gradually progressed, what I heard and what my awareness of what I heard came to an end. So even the duality of her faculty of hearing, that now is just awareness, right? Not just the hearing awareness. Even when that state of mind in which everything has come to an end disappeared, I did not rest. My awareness and the objects of my awareness were emptied. And when that process of emptying my awareness was wholly complete, then even that emptying of what had been emptied vanished. You say this is the emptying of emptiness. You get a little bit of that in the Prajnaparamita Sutra, the Heart Sutra that we read yesterday. And finally, she concludes, coming into being and ceasing to be themselves cease to be. And then the ultimate stillness was revealed. And clearly this could be a lifetime, if not lifetimes of reflection to really kind of listen to that place in our own hearts, in our own nature. So they describe as that she listened inward to find her awakened nature. And as the sutra continues on, but I'll just summarize, what happens is that she unites with her awakened nature, her awakened mind. And she has the wisdom and compassion of the Buddhas, or say clarity and compassion, freedom or clarity and compassion. So that's number one. Number two, she says, I was able to unite with all living beings, where I was able to feel their pain and suffering as my very own. So in this process of deeply letting go of all the projections and constructions of our mind, the way that we sometimes use the word samjñā, which is this kind of constructed way of perceiving, right? We add to our experience the sam as the construction. We perceive, but we add things to it. We have the prajna, which is the direct seeing, without any obscurations, complete clarity. In that complete clarity, she connects with the awakened nature and also with all living beings. And then she says, and then I respond to all living beings exactly to their potential, exactly what they need in whatever form it requires. So she can manifest as anything, from an animal to actually a mountain landscape, to another living being, a human,
Blue sky.
blue sky. Anything that can help living beings wake up. Guanyin Bodhisattva responds in that way. And so that's, you could say, this deeper kind of practice that Guanyin Bodhisattva, how Guanyin Bodhisattva became Guanyin Bodhisattva. And later she says, that's why I got my name, because of my practice of listening. So she who hears the sounds of the world. And I think this connection between listening and compassion is quite important. Because when we can truly listen to someone by letting go of our projections and our ideas of how things are supposed to be, we really allow the other person to exist. And if they're going through pain and suffering, we allow that to be. And in that listening with care, some kind of healing happens. I think this morning, actually, Ayadhammadeepa's story about being a chaplain really kind of embodied that principle. Right? She walked into the room. The daughter told her, no need. The mom says, please stay. Asked the daughter to leave. And then she just starts to cry. And I said that she just was there in presence, maybe just kind of rubbing her back, comforting her. And I think what we could feel from that story, or sense from that story, is Aya didn't say, don't cry, everything will be okay, don't cry.
Yeah.
Right? that would actually cut off that place of listening, that compassion and care. She was just there quietly listening. No words, but a lot was being communicated. And because she was fully there, able to receive that, not get overwhelmed herself and can't take and have to somehow fix the situation, some healing could happen. So I think this actual capacity to deeply listen, I mean, you can go all the way to our nature, to awaken potential, but at wherever point we're at, we can actually practice this compassionate listening of really being able to listen fully, not as much as possible putting down our projections and kind of constructed ways of thinking about things, to allow other people to be who they truly are, and for ourselves to be truly who we are. And this is kind of an ongoing process. But just given the time, if people have more questions, we can investigate. But we wanted to also be maybe more realistic in the sense that sometimes listening is tough. And Jingwei shared a story yesterday, and I thought he'd be great to continue with his sharing of stories, because you can say listening is not always easy, especially when people are upset with us. How do we stay with that compassionate listening when the stakes get higher and the emotions run high? And it's not just somebody crying in front of us where the heart naturally wants to respond with compassion, but when the person's talking to us as a angry voice, maybe a fierce look on their face, at that point, how do we respond? So anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, it came to my mind that you remind the story of in the morning in Dhamadipa, was she who heard the cries of this world or this woman, right? In this moment, can hold the space. What is the one of the names of one in Bodhisattva? She who hears the cries of the world. And yeah, so let's continue the story part 2. Maybe a little bit address today's topic of listening. And when we listen, something unexpected can happen. So yes, I mentioned yesterday the day I met my grandmother, farewell her. It was a day it was intense and full unexpected events day. Just came out from the hospital, and I was on the way to my parents' home. I caught the bus number 19, I remember. So long I didn't use the public transportation. So yes, here I am. And I was thinking, okay, let's call my father. He was very grateful, generous, and offered one of his old phone to use during the visit. So, okay, I call. Hi, Daddy. I'm just visited my grandma, and I'm on the way back to house. I should arrive around 45 minutes. And it was a short pause. Have you visited your grandma? Goes, ooh. Have you came to the COVID unit? I say yes. It was very irresponsible. And I paused and call ended. And I can feel my heart start beating faster. Okay, I have one pretty strong situation 20 minutes ago, and now we have something to address here. Another, so phone ring. I am on the bus. My stepmother calling me. We are very disappointed. We talked with your father, and we decided you need to leave our home. It is very dangerous, and you know what you did, it can have some consequences. Again, okay. I didn't continue the conversation. Later, I think Jin Chuan should call
Yeah,
me.
and I actually haven't just called you Wei Shi at this point. That's a side comment.
Yes, I commented. Yeah, we have some drama, Jin Chuan should here. And so I'm driving on this bus, called to my cousin and asked, oh, explain what happened. That I'm looking for some place to stay. I say, before I left home, now the home left me. And she says, oh, I'm very sorry to hear that, but we just in the process of remodeling our house and we cannot invite you, but I will try to find maybe some hotel in the area or so. Oh, it would be very wonderful. Thank you. I says, and call my aunt. She's a daughter of my grandma. Explain her situation. He says, she called me. Most of them call me Marek, you know, sometimes Jinwei, but they still learn the new name. And Marek, don't worry, you need to go to your grandma flat. It's empty. You know, she will be very happy to offer shelter to you. Okay, I will be there for 1 hour. He says, okay, so I will have a place to go. I found a place to go. And so the bus came to destination. I came out. I kind of standing on this bus stop and found that my body shaking. My body a little bit shaking. You know, it's so okay. So first, like before, relax.
Relax the body.
Relax the body. Relax the body.
Rule number one.
Calm down. Okay. You know, and so the next of my question is, I ask myself, okay, let's find some clarity here. What's going on? Talking about our team, clarity. And it was just happened in the monastery with our 4 participants of the retreat.
We had a 3-month retreat here at the monastery beforehand.
And all of us together, investigate different ways of approaching a skillful communication.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we look at an Eightfold Noble Eightfold Path, which is right speech, and one of the important tools we will find out is non-violence communication. Right, what is the method to clear empathic communication, not using any guilt, humiliation or judgment, and talk what really matters. Right. So okay, what I'm feeling? Am I feeling right now? So I can, okay, I am a bit anxious. So this body is still a little bit unsettled, tight, and it's slightly irritated, or maybe not slightly, a little bit irritated. And so, okay, I feel this. So what these feelings tell me, what I care about here. So I think, okay, I think what I really value in this situation, the connection to my parents, harmony, and to be understood, right, in the whole situation. This is what really matters for me. Okay. So I take, and I kind of have a moment of rush, a kind of small impulse. I flew from California here to, farewell my grandma. This is how you welcome me and support me? This is how I could address the situation before, very easily. Who is right, who is wrong? It's like, I'm ready to fight. And that's, no, let go. Relax. We don't go there today. Or try to not go there, because of course this is challenging. I felt also, this is challenged.
Yeah,
I'm challenged. So where my parents, my father and stepmom there, what they feel? And I say, maybe they feel, maybe further step before, what's going on here, right? What is the landscape of the whole drama, I can say. So I talked with my father. His voice was higher than normal. The volume was a little bit higher. And he was upset or irritated. And he says, they says, leave our home. Okay. So they says what they feel in this situation, right? What they can feel. And I say, I was kind of imagining, empathizing with this feeling, what they can have. And I say, maybe they feel upset, definitely frustrated, and feel fear. They feel fear, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So what they need, what is their unmet need here? And say, this is need for safety, right? They need to be safe. They need to be protected. They want to stay healthy, right? This COVID, this whole more than a year, experience with COVID, all experiencing, they just freak out, seeing the their son was in the, epicentrum of in the COVID unit. So, okay. And of course, it was kind of tough situation, was tense a bit, as I mentioned. And I tried to formulate in my heart one sentence what I want to say when I was on the way back at this maybe 15 minutes walk. So I kind of repeating what I can say. What I came out, a very simple sentence. I respect your decision. I will leave now. But I don't have internal resources to talk right now. Let's talk later. So this is one my short sentence that I want to tell them if the situation will be very confrontational, for instance. And I came to open the house, the heart beat a little bit faster. And first, we're very sorry. We're very sorry, that it's what's happened, but we're very concerned, when my friend's family was the nurse. She was working in a COVID hospital and she passed away. She got a COVID. It's, oh, okay. Yeah, I see. And I'm very happy that you follow all these protocols. I really empathize with you, and please do. You are, over 70s, you need to take care of yourself. And I think this is a very good decision that we are not sure. I would take tests to make sure that everything is okay. And actually I can go to my grandma house. So it's no problem. So my father, I will call taxi for you. Okay. So my father called the taxi. So I, went to my grandmother's house, and it was also kind of a gift, stay in her energy and be kind of in her presence. And also knowing that she can know that I'm there. Also, she offered a gift of shelter for the bhikshu is quite good, I think. not bad situation. And, and my father came next day and bring the food for me and so forth, and grandma cooked for me special vegan.
Your stepmom.
Stepmom.
Sorry, grandma passed away.
My stepmom cooked a special dish, the vegan dish. And I noticed my father pick up, vegan yogurts and so forth. A lot of care, a lot of care. We understood each other actually in a deeper level. And I say, wow, I'm so grateful that I have a chance to a little bit do some rehearsal in the monastery before and kind of train the listening, how to listen and how to not be very impulsive in the first thoughts, kind of calm down and connect to someone needs and find the space when we can connect and be honest about what we care about, right? So
yes, I think this is actually a really important skill to develop. Maybe say something in our current times that is in rare supply is, I would say, kind of this open, caring listening. A lot of our conflicts that we have in our families, in our society, in ourselves comes from not listening. Actually, during the retreat, just thought of was, so we did this NVC. We actually we thought we'd just introduce it because we haven't been in the monastery for a while. I found that oftentimes there's a lot of a conflict arises from misunderstanding, and people don't really know how to deal with conflict in a caring, compassionate way. And in our monastery, it's very diverse. So even with the people we have Jing Weishu from Poland. I'm an ABC, which is an American-born Chinese. So I grew up here in America, but from Chinese ancestry. one elder here is from Taiwan, another one is from China, another one's from Australia, but German roots. Another one's France, but actually Cambodian roots. So, and each person, one is just from our families, but also from our culture, deals with conflict in different ways. And so, how do we find common language to talk when things really get tough? And so that's why we're doing this nonviolent communication and really exploring what is right speech. NVC is just a particular form, I think, of practicing right speech.
Or
it's
tool.
a tool, not a kind of a dogmatic approach to speaking, but just another tool to use. And so we really explored this kind of right speech, the different forms of speaking, but also listening. So one of the participants, who is from China, he used to run a factory of about 700 workers. He came over here and wants to become a monk. And so he's listening for a while, and he said, I think my biggest, we asked one question, of all the different types of speech, which one do you think you need to improve on the most, right? If it's lying or divisive or harsh or idle speech, right? The 4 kinds of wrong speech. It's a harsh speech. I'm very harsh when I'm speaking. I had 700 people, I had to kind of tell them what to do. And so in this process of learning this communication, he realized, I don't think I've ever really listened to my son. So he actually called his son at one point, and he called his son and said, son, I'm sorry, because I think I've been too harsh with you all these years. It's been like 30, plus
30
years. I've been very harsh with you all these years. And he says, I'm really sorry about that. And I don't think I actually ever really listened to you. And so I just want to ask, what are your thoughts? What do you have to say? What do you like to tell me? And he said what his son told him on the phone was, Dad, I don't know what to say because I've never heard you talk like this before. But he said then he really opened up and shared, his thoughts and his feelings. I never heard that. Just such a small act of just saying, here, I put down all my guards. I want to fully accept you for who you are, and I just want to listen to you with this kind of openness, this kind of care. And so these two, what we use these words, clarity and compassion, I think they're really good words. This intention of clarity, meaning I'm open, I'm curious, I want to learn. So if somebody has a different opinion or different way of seeing things, my response isn't, you're wrong, I'm right. It's curiosity, it's clarity. How can I understand you better? Can you please explain? Are you seeing something I'm not seeing? It's just a completely different way of looking at the situation that opens up the listening.
Even we're hearing that someone is angry. Why is angry? Because definitely he cares about something.
Yeah.
She or he is caring about something. Well, so what is there behind it? This care. And the founder of this nonviolence communication, Marshall Rosenberg, he says that the conflict is a tragic expression unmet needs. Unmet needs. So we kind of deeply listening, what people experiencing, empathizing, like meta, right? We are connecting, caring, and try to kind of unpack, understand what they really care about. What is there? What is the value what they have? I just not meet here in this moment.
Yeah, so that's the compassion. So what happens is pretty magical. When I first learned it and started applying it, because, as I said, in the monastery, there's lots of relationships and it's not always easy. You're living together almost, probably 15, 16 hours a day, eating together, practicing together, living in the same area. And oftentimes, all the afflictions start to rub up against each other and small things become big things. And to have this method of being able to translate any statement of blame or judgment into feelings and needs was actually very powerful. I was saying this is a kind of compassionate listening. So as Jingwei Shi said for his father, when he says, what do you say? He said, I'm very disappointed in you, or how could you do that? Right? The feeling behind that is maybe fear, the need of safety.
And care, also care for me. My son was in dangerous circumstances. How he understand that? It's okay. I can see that. I see your care.
So, I mean, if we were more skillful, that probably could have said something like, you know, son, when I hear you say that you're just in the hospital, I feel a lot of fear because I'm really concerned for your safety and our safety. Right? That could be one way of communicating. But although the person's maybe not communicating in that way, even when they're angry, if we can listen deeply to the person, we might be able to hear that heart in their communication.
Mm.
And so this is, I think, a very practical skill to develop. So in the Noble Eightfold Path, you have right view, which we thought maybe is kind of clarity, right intention, which is the compassion, and then right speech, which I would include listening in it. To say, really, can we say, enter this new year with a heart to really be open in our listening, like Guanyin Bodhisattva, letting go at a very deep way, and really being compassionate in our listening. And so,
Right listening.
yes, right listening. So we thought just maybe sharing that much. I guess the plan was for us to do a little bit of meditation and then open it for Q&A. So maybe if people have your questions, you can kind of hold it. Oh, I see a lot of comments here, one comment here. Okay, so how about we'll do a little bit of meditation and then we can have kind of Q&A on this topic. Just to confirm, we're going to 120 or 130? Is it?
120.
120, okay.
Okay.
So just to be clear. Okay, so what we were thinking of doing was actually a meditation where we actually recite Guanyin Bodhisattva's name. As we mentioned, this is one of our main practices. And I think for many people here, probably Guan Shi Ying Pusa is a kind of foreign syllables. But I think if we bring it to the deeper practice of what Guanyin Bodhisattva represents, which is this compassionate listening, then it kind of really existentially means something to us. So similar to how when Bhikkhu Bodhi in the very beginning talked about the mindfulness of the breath, when we have the word in, out, so inhale and exhale, it helps direct our mind towards our breath very gently. The recitation helps direct our mind to compassionate listening very gently. That's what her name means. I really respect compassionate listening. This is what I value in this moment. And so what we thought about was first beginning with a kind of seated meditation, kind of what we started with yesterday, that heart of compassion and care for all beings, and then reciting her name from that place of care. So this is just, we haven't quite tried it like this before, but we thought, let's see how it goes. Okay, so people can find a comfortable position.
Yeah, I think if we practice together clarity and compassion, also another is see creativity arrive.
Okay, so if you can sit upright, back straight. Imagine your head being pulled up by a string. Your body completely relaxing from that string. And just to first start by relaxing the body. So relax the face. Let go of any tension that we might have in the face. Then to our shoulders, maybe rolling our shoulders back. And just letting our shoulders hang heavy. Imagine your arms getting heavy. Our left arm heavy. Now our left shoulder to relax. The muscles extend. Then our right shoulder. Imagine our right arm heavy. Letting our right shoulder relax. For the muscles to lengthen and relax. And then bring our awareness to our stomach, our belly. Just relax any tension we might have in our belly. Just tuning into the body. Kind of somatic listening. And wherever we feel tension, see if we just relax. Then as you breathe in, you sit up straight, your spine upright. As you exhale, just relax the whole body. We'll tune into the heart of compassion, loving kindness, unconditional care. May it be filled with loving kindness. We're tuning into the intention behind these words. May I be filled with loving kindness, unconditional care, letting it fill up the entire body. See how this energy just helps the body relax even more. You feel safe and protected. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. Physically, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. So free of anxiety, free of tension, at ease in both body and mind. As we send this intention to ourselves, our body continues to relax. To let go. May I be happy. Again, this happiness we don't have to earn. This wish for our well-being is unconditional. No strings attached. No expectations. May I be happy. may have the inner resources, courage, clarity, compassion to meet the difficulties of life, whatever they may be. Truly wishing ourselves well. And then expanding that to all of us here as a group. There's maybe about 140, 150 of us here. So this collective we, all of us. So with a sincere wish all of us well. May we all be filled with loving kindness, unconditional care. May we all be well. May we all be peaceful and at ease. May we all be happy. May we all have the inner resources, clarity, compassion, and courage to meet the difficulties as they arise. Just letting this kind of open-hearted care envelop all of us here. Also feeling that we're part of the whole group. Wishing for each other's well-being. One 140 other people are wishing you well right now. And then one more expansion. We just imagine all the influences of our life that shaped who we are. Our parents, our grandparents, our ancestors, going back thousands, millions, we said maybe countless eons. In the Buddhist suttas, they actually describe that it is difficult to find one living being who has not been our mother in the past, or father in the past. So there's a deep interconnected relationship to all living beings. Just presencing that in our hearts and seeing that each person on this call is also infinite in their conditions, infinite in their relationships. We would like to call this the web of relations, or infinite web of relations. Now we bring this unconditional care to this infinite web that we each have in ourselves, that we recognize in each other. May all of us be filled with loving kindness. May all of us be well. May all of us be peaceful and at ease. May all of us be happy. At this point, see if you can stay with that heart of unconditional care that's deeply interconnected with all life. And we will chant Namo Guan Shi Ying Pusa. We invite you also, you could chant along if you wish. And as you chant, we suggest that you can actually listen to the sounds as you chant and have the sounds kind of reminding you of this deep interconnected place, this heart of unconditional care. Maybe say this deep listening. Okay, so maybe just chant for a few minutes. Namo Guan Shi Ying Pusa. 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 Okay. This is the first time we tried that. So if you have any comments about how that was, you can put it in the chat box. But we just wanted to open up for Q&A for people to be able to ask questions about compassion or what are the questions that we asked. Oh, some people enjoyed the meditation. Yeah, the thing that we found was actually really kind of eye-opening when we discovered loving kindness in the Theravada tradition, because we talk a lot about Guanyin Bodhisattva in the Northern tradition. And so we go to quote unquote great compassion, but sometimes we kind of miss a step. We forget, first, can we not dwell in aversion, be relaxed, kind of care for ourselves? And there's a kind of a buildup where then you can actually open your heart to all living beings, wishing for their liberation, right? Yeah. Okay, so let me see what we have. So if people want to type in the chat box, or you can raise your hand. That way we can, I see Pat Tallman. Yeah, it's nice to be able to hear other people's voices. So can you unmute yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, very clear.
Okay, thank you, Venerables, for your presentation today. Most of my experience, I currently practice the Brahma-viharas, and it's in the Theravada traditions, so I'm not that familiar with Mahayana. But the sutta you read struck me as when we practice the Brahma Viharas and in long retreats, you come to equanimity and it's accompanied by the base of nothingness, which sounded like the first part of that sutta you read. And then the next part sounded like description of neither perception nor non-perception. And then it sounded like she was describing entering cessation of feeling, perception, and consciousness in that sutta you read. So I was wondering, is that a correct interpretation in your opinion, or is that not how you interpret it? Because it really sounded, the words you used sounded to me like that.
Sound like that?
Yeah. What was the sutta? Is that from the
Mahayana? It's a Srangama Sutra. This
Okay.
is in some say the Mahayana or maybe the Northern tradition.
Okay.
Srangama Sutra. And so
Okay.
it's in the chapter on Guanyin Bodhisattva's method. And I'm thinking maybe not entering a kind of more technical conversation here.
Okay, sure.
My sense of it is actually the Brahma Viharas is a very interesting link to the Bodhisattva path. Because if you look at the Visuddhimagga at the very end of that commentary, when it talks about the Brahma Viharas, it actually says that for those beings who wish to realize Buddhahood, essentially perfect the 10 powers of the Buddha, they actually use the 4 Brahma Viharas to perfect all the paramitas. And then they achieve Buddhahood through that process of perfecting the paramitas. So I think the Brahma Viharas is actually a very interesting doorway to this process. Now, the actual kind of trying to connect it, when she does this, what realm is she kind of entering and what's going on? That's a little bit beyond my experience. But encourage you to investigate yourself.
Thank you.
Try it yourself and see what it looks, how it feels like. Okay. Okay, some people writing some questions here. Somebody had 2 questions. We are suffering as a result of our own cumulative karma from previous lives and the current one. Then is praying to the Buddha for safety and compassion more just to delay the suffering and help with meeting the suffering that we have to face anyway? In no way is that going to help avert the disaster and suffering? The first question. I think there's one sutta that I find quite helpful to kind of imagine this for our own lives. There's one where the Buddha talks to, I'm not sure which one it is. I think it's called the Salt Sutta.
Salt.
Yeah. But there's the Buddha has a cup of water, and he asks the monks, if I put a spoonful of salt into this cup of water, would the water be salty? Would it be easy to drink? Says, no, it's really salty. You put a whole spoonful of salt into it. So he said, but how about a lake, like a pure, clear lake?
All flowing river.
Yeah, just river. And you just put a spoonful of salt in it. Would you even taste it? I said, no, I wouldn't even taste it. And so I think in that analogy, he's using analogy as somebody who had very few blessings. When they faced the difficulties of their life, it's a lot of suffering. It's very hard to take. But someone who has a lot of blessings, when they face the difficulties of their life, they may not be able to actually experience it not as too much. And so I think this is something really beneficial from Dharma practice, that we realize that we can work with our karma in 2 ways. One is we can actually do good deeds, expand the generosity of our heart. And when we start doing that, somehow our lives begin to work out. And, for instance, we were just recently had storms here in Berkeley, and we're really blessed to be able to be in the monastery. But there's a lot of people who don't have a place to stay. And it's very difficult. It's very difficult. And so one is for us to plant blessings, to do good deeds, and we will have a kind of opportunity to meet the suffering in our lives and with less conditions of pain. And the other is the actual attitude of our minds in the present moment. So if our mind can be still and we can meet the suffering in the present with compassion, then rather than experiencing that pain in a way that leads to aversion, hatred, repression, we actually can meet it with real care and then transform it. So You can say maybe when we pray to the Buddha, it helps us tap into that capacity within ourselves on one level.
Yeah, can extend it and connect it to the field. Even like we chant the Guan Namo Guan Shi Pusa for those people who have this and feel these connections, we can just expand our heart and connecting the feel of compassion. We can hold this and something what is much more higher than us.
Another question he has, isn't it hypocrisy if we were to condemn jobs that require killing animals, such as fishermen and so forth, but yet we eat or buy meat from the grocery store in order to get the nutrition to feed the family? Someone has to do the animal killing. So how can we judge them, but rather show compassion? Compassion for that. Is being vegetarian, which in some villages is not possible, the only viable solution? Please provide some clarity to my muddled thoughts. I don't think we want to condemn jobs in the sense of saying you're evil. I think what the Buddha is trying to point to with the principle of right livelihood, to say, here's a way to live your life to minimize harm, or to maybe even be a benefit for the well-being of other people. He's just trying to give us guidelines for well-being and happiness. It's not so that we judge other people as evil or good, right or wrong. And so people have occupations that are, end up causing suffering. It's not about getting angry at them and condemning them and humiliating them. It's about, as we were talking about, compassionate listening. It's listening deeply, like you're listening, realize they need a way to make a livelihood as well. So maybe we can create more livelihoods that are not going to be suffering. And partly why in our tradition we're vegetarians, because also maybe we can reduce the amount of contribution that we have in this realm, so there's less need for meat. So anyways, just some thoughts. You want to answer the next question? Let's see what here. Thank you, Reverend. I have a brother paralyzed in the right side by a stroke for 3 years. He is angry with his disability. He yells, screams obscenities when we visit him and tells us to go away for good. What should I do? I usually try to be relaxed, focus on my respiration, not react to his yelling, bring food and help with his laundry, and I often tune out the harsh words, and I forget his screaming as soon as I can, and come back in a few days to help him. Many thanks.
You probably heard this answer, but I say first, probably this kind of situations, it's good to show care for yourself, deeply care for yourself. And of course, the practice of loving kindness is very crucial, and kind of deeply connect to this heart of care for ourselves. And in this process, I think that slowly we expand the capacity to kind of meet the difficulty in the more skillful way. Of course, what you express here is definitely extremely challenging in many ways. But at the same time, what is for me very uplifting about this loving kindness practice, this is the element of is truly unconditioned. Truly unconditioned. It is really a way to connect with someone's, and probably the first, I can say, place when we can look at any times aversion arise in our heart, anytime the tension arises, when I hear something what upset me, I probably look at on this and try to meet with this kind of welcoming, opening heart, and kind of honor that, relax into it, and this is a training of the heart. It's maybe not happening overnight, but it's interesting. The one way that we have phrased in loving kindness is not just kind of sugary feeling of, yes, I will like everyone, and I really like one point that one the teacher says that even sometimes in difficult situations, I maybe don't like someone, but it not affect my loving kindness towards this person. I can still maintain this unconditional care, even in somehow is difficult to be around of someone. So that not dwell in aversion is one of the expression of kind of loving kindness.
Yeah. Going here, we have, okay, please elaborate on what you discussed yesterday about moment by moment and unconditional caring versus thinking of the future and conditional caring. I think what Jingwei Shi just kind of described is maybe a little bit of that principle, which is the moment to moment is really monitoring what's going on right here, right now, all the time. Just mindfulness, sati, being aware of what's going on. And so if we see aversion arise, as we mentioned the first day on clarity, we realize this is not a skillful road to go down. So we let it go. Actually, I found the most effective method is just relax the body. Usually you'll find aversion tenses the body. And if we try to go for aversion directly, oftentimes we end up having aversion for the aversion and ends up being a tangled web of affliction. So I find the first move is go to the body and go, okay, what's tensing up? For me, it's actually right around my face. I can feel something right next to my cheeks. Like, ooh, I feel tension there. I just got to relax. And so that's the moment to a moment we start to monitor. And what you find is that if we can actually monitor the body to be relaxed all the time, it's pretty hard for the afflictions to get going too strong. They start a little bit, but then they don't have the additional field of our body's agitation to kind of push it along. And then the unconditional caring is caring without attachment, with somebody said equanimity. Is caring for other people without any expectations. May you be well. The end. May you be happy. The end. It's not because you do X, Y, and Z for me, then I will care for you. And it actually seems pretty simple, but when you actually really reflect on it, it's pretty profound because somehow in our society, we've learned that care requires some kind of payment or something, some kind of expectation. So I have to look a certain way. I have to be successful. Yeah, earn a certain amount of money, maybe. So maybe at that point, I'll be really, truly cared for. If I just made this much money and we just keep chasing, because actually it's endless. That we can keep making more and more and we maybe never get cared for. Who's keeping track? And so it's just go directly, find that heart of unconditional care. And if we find it for ourselves and we share with other people, what we actually find is that life gets a lot easier and a lot smoother and a lot less suffering. So definitely worth exploring more. Maybe just a last question here. Somebody says,
can you recommend the readings on nonviolent communication? You recommended one book that's orange soft.
Yeah, there's a couple of books. There's one book called Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg that I found quite helpful and quite insightful. If you want to go through it. There's another book by Oren J. Sofer, who kind of, I would say, modernizes it a little bit and adds in Buddhist teachings on right speech and mindfulness. So he has a 3-step process, which actually begins with body awareness. He calls leading with presence, and then right intention coming from curiosity and care. And then the 3rd step is on focus on what matters, where he applies NVC as a way to actually pay attention to what's going on in the moment, on what you observe, what are the emotions and feelings here, what are the deeper needs they're coming from, and then what are the potential requests that I can make that will meet everyone's emotions and needs, everyone's needs here. Rather than my way or no way, it's how can we all work together. So yeah, somebody had mentioned there's a lot of other good materials, and there's some interesting web videos online as well.
So
So
watching Marshall Rosenberg is actually his workshop in San Francisco.
yeah, that's very good.
And
It's about
nonviolence
3
communication,
hours.
like 3 hours, but
Yeah.
very instructive.
Okay, I think we're probably coming up to time. I see there's one last question maybe, because I see somebody wrote it.
What is the second?
He says, how do you
alternate?
practice compassionate listening when somebody is spreading hurtful speech? If I were to say using this method of NVC, or Oren's method, which is, relax the body, come from curiosity and care, then NVC. So rather than demonize the person, to really try to listen to the person. So what are they experiencing? Why are they saying what they're saying? And what's the deeper need that they're trying to meet? Maybe when they use hurtful or hateful speech, is it because they feel anxiety? Because they want to belong? They want community? Okay. So what that does is it humanizes the other person, which then allows compassion to flow, and then allows for us the creativity to come out. We can actually then be creative. If it's my way or no way, it's actually not too creative. It's just my way. And the other person's, so if it's like, okay, I can listen deeply to where that person's coming from. I can deeply listen to what I really care about here. Can I find a creative way of addressing this that will actually lead to the greater well-being of not only myself, but the other person, the whole community, so on and so forth.
And maybe to some reason, depends of everything is very contextual, right? We need to know the context of situation, but sometimes maybe we feel we don't have enough resources to meet the difficulty what the person create to us. So maybe it's good to create the boundaries, clear boundaries. So the boundaries were created out of the care, not out of our frustration or anger. Similar result, but difficult feeling in the heart.
Yeah.
And maybe we can work with the inner resources, kind of grow, open, our understanding and our ability. And time will come, try to reconnect. But at the same time, we can maintain the good wish for the person, but maybe for some time, I need to stay away from the person.
Okay, so it's about 1:20. I think at this point we maybe turn over to Patricia, our Venerable Bodhi.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Jin Chuan, Reverend Jin Wei, for these teachings. We're going to take a short break now, and we'll resume at 4:40 p.m. Eastern Time, 1:40 Pacific. Feel free to leave your computers or devices on during this break. We'll keep the Zoom call open, and we will see you shortly. So about 20 minutes, 4:40 Eastern Time, 1:40 Pacific.